Enki and Enlil, the brothers, wanted Nimah, who became the chief medical officer. So we have this conflict between Enki, the chief scientist, Enlil, the commander of the earth and of the whole expedition, and they both want Nimah. First of all, Enki gets along with Nimah, and he shows her, look, I'm going to build all these cities, and he shows him all the cities and all his plans. Next. And he says, Nimah, be with me. I'll bring our son from Nibiru to earth. Let's make a brother for him. Well, they didn't conceive again, and she rocketed off to Sinai, where Enki had a place. Well, Enlil was really morose and moping around, and he noticed Nimah's beautiful assistant, Sud, was bathing by a stream, and he invited her to drink with him and got her drunk and said he wanted to make love with her. And she said, no way, and he raped her. Nimah and the council exiled Enlil to Africa. Sud became increasingly pregnant, and the council said, look, Enlil, we'll let you come back from Africa, from your place that Abgal took you to for your exile, if you'll marry Sud. Okay, I'll do it, he said, and make her Ninhursag. That means she's your wife, your queen. Go back one, please. So when Abgal flew Enlil to Africa, he said, hey, chief, I'm going to betray Enki now. I'm going to tell you where he hid the missiles. So if you need the missiles, you can force everybody to put you in charge again. But Enlil said, nah, I don't need to do that. I'm going to keep that as my ace in the hole. I'm going to just marry her, but don't say anything about me knowing where the missiles are. Okay, go ahead. So Nimah went over to Enki's place, and they had lots and lots of children. Every time they kept having girl children. And then Enki, they had different mores than a lot of people, but not unlike many royals. Enki seduced each one of the daughters they had, and even the daughters of the daughters. Next. And finally, Nimah was fed up with all this stuff, and so Enki said, well, go ahead and send my wife and kid, Marduk. Now remember, Marduk was supposed to be the king of Nibiru, but Anu had after Alalu, but Anu had taken that after the fight. So Enki and Damkina begat and raised these famous Anunnaki, a guy named Nergal, who became lord of South Africa, Gibbel, who became the great armorer, Dumuzi, who was really liked to deal with herds, and Ninhursag, brilliant young man. This is all about, okay, anyway. And Enki was given the job of taking one of the granddaughters of Enlil to a weather station that they were creating down in the south tip of Africa at Point Arguelles. The daughter's name was Erishkigal. And Erishkigal was the daughter of Nanar, who was the oldest son of Enlil and Ninhursag. And he seduced her, and they had a kid, a very, very important kid, Ningishita, who later becomes known as Thoth and Kukulkan and Quetzalcoatl. Next.
So for Enki, right?
Yeah, this is Enki. Yes, Enki's
daughter. Okay, just clarifying.
So when Enki's son Nergal, who was the ruler of South Africa, saw this person from the other clan, Ereshkigal was Nanar's daughter and part of Enlil's clan. He wanted to kill her. She's on my turf, but instead he married her. And Ereshkigal, as soon as Ningishita got old enough, sent him to Enki's place in Zimbabwe. There's a depiction of Greater Zimbabwe, the remains of Enki's palace there. And there's a picture of Enki and Ningishita. Next, another picture of the what Enki's palace looked like. Next, in 38,000 BCE.
300.
What, Janet?
You had 380,000.
380,000 BCE. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mars-based commander Anzu infiltrated Enlil's Iraq command center. He came down. He said, I want more things for my men. We have a big base there. We're not getting any booze. They like booze, and we don't got any girls. We want to be able to come to Earth. And Anu said, "Oh, let Anzu come down to Earth and see what you have to deal with, and then he'll be okay." And Enlil was unhappy about doing that, but he was ordered to by the king. So when Anzu got into the command room, he took over. Anzu stole a computer key, and his men came down from Mars base, and they conquered the Earth. Enki, however, told Ninurta, his nephew, "Look, I built Anzu's aircraft, and here's how you can beat it." And so Ninurta did indeed. There's their aerial fight, and this terrible aerial fight shot down Anzu's plane. Next, and he dragged Anzu before the council. Next, and Ninurta executed Anzu. Next, and there's Ninurta was given a missile set on his plane. It had multi warheads. That's how it's depicted there. The thing underneath the warrior is his plane. Next, Marduk, the son of the would-be or pretender to Alalu's throne, was given a job. They let Prince Marduk take the body of Anzu back and hang it in Mars, and now Marduk was in charge of Mars, but he made good friends with the people up there. Go. Next. Meanwhile, most of the initial heroes who had come from Nibiru to Earth went home, and more Nibirians came to work the mines. They were volunteers. They were working to get the gold from South Africa to send back to Nibiru and put in the atmosphere and save the planet. And they conveyed this gold along these stone lanes. Next. Here's the conveyance lanes from the air. Goes over thousands and thousands of miles. These circles all over south of Africa, and they have many functions. One of them is moving objects, and but they're very, very. It's part of their conveyance system. We don't fully understand it. Next. Meanwhile, Enki and Nimah and Ningishita studied Erectus, Homo erectus. This is Bigfoot's ancestor. It's our ancestor too, as you'll see. They were interested in Bigfoot's ancestor, Erectus, because Erectus was compassionate, telepathic, intelligent, and fire-using. And Erectus, Bigfoot's ancestor, didn't come from little lemurs and stuff like the Darwinian evolutionists think at all. They were terraformed there. They're still with us. They're highly intelligent, telepathic human beings. Next. In the meantime, Enki and Nimah and Ningishita were making all kinds of genetic experiments, as those of you who follow skyfaring people know. Almost all skyfaring people like to do genetic experiments, but the Anunnaki really were into it. They made centaurs, mermaids, minotaurs, griffins, cyclopses, and they made some human beings that didn't work very well. Next. There's a minotaur. There's some of the other experiments. Next. Now, while all this is happening, they're doing these experiments. in the mines, the volunteers had it. Boy, they were working so hard. They spent years under the dirt, and they were not happy. So next, Enki decided that he would get them to mutiny, and the mutiny would be an excuse for what he now thought he was very close to, which was to make a worker race using the genes of the Homo erectus to adapt the Nibiran genome to Earth. And so Enki told the miners, hey, just slow down and don't send so much gold, and they'll send Ninurta and Enlil to investigate. Next. Well, as a result of the slowdown and the mutiny, where the workers actually surrounded Enlil and burned their tools and threatened him, Enki was able to get the okay from Anu to make a slave race, even though that was illegal as far as the colonization of planets rules that the Federation had put out. Nevertheless, they decided they would have Anunnaki women carry the hybrids that they were making that were mostly their genome, with a little Homo erectus, a little copper, and a little clay. Next. So 300,000 years ago, in clay and copper vessels, Ninhursag planted an erectus and Nibiran fertilized zygotes in Nimah, who, by cesarean section, bore a black-haired, dark red-skinned boy named Adamu. Adamu was just like the Anunnaki men, except he had a foreskin, and the Nibirans don't have foreskins. And so here is this famous clay tablet which shows Nimah holding Adam, the Adamu. There's Ninhursag and Enki, and this is a successful one. He could make the sounds that showed he could talk. He functioned perfectly. He was perfect to be the sort of the prototype of the slaves. Next. And notice that Adam and also Damkina, the girl that they made, had the mitochondrial DNA from an Anunnaki woman, from Nimah. The second hybrid was the girl, and the mother of this girl was Enki's wife, Damkina. And Damkina delivered Tiamat, who was blonde and white-skinned. Her hair was sandy, sort of blonde to reddish. So we see that the first of our race, that's a man, is brown-skinned person. The first woman of our race is a white-skinned person, and variety just like we do. The Christian version, of course, said the first woman was fully excised, fully grown from the first man's rib. Next. Next. This is biblical kind of interpretations. They still didn't have anything that could breed. They were just making clones for a while. But Ninhursag did all of his experimentation, and really he isolated the XX and XY genes, and he made Tiamat able to breed. And Tiamat was our first self-aware ancestress. Next. Enki took, and of course she was with Adam, and Enki brought them from South Africa, from Zimbabwe, up to his place in Basra, and she's getting more and more pregnant. Next. Next. She was really a brilliant, brilliant human being. Tiamat just blew everybody's mind. And she was making things. She made you see in this depiction, she made a skirt, she made a table. And one day, Enlil, who was right next door, came by, and he sees the what should have been just clones, sees she's pregnant. But she walks up to him, "Hi, I'm Tiamat. Look at the skirt I made. I made this table too." And she's just talking, and he just blew Enlil's mind, because she was just as smart as a bright little Anunnaki girl, as a bright little Nibiran girl. They called Anunnaki here on Earth. That means they who came down from the sky. And so Enlil is furious. He has Enki bound in stasis. You see those snakes, those wavy things around Enki. That means he was in stasis, and he's got things on his feet and his arms. She is the poor little Tiamat is terribly, terribly upset. Next. Enlil, however, the council, Enlil wanted to have Enki killed, but the council said, "Nah, just send him down to Zimbabwe. Okay, go get out of Basra, leave the garden here, and go to Africa and breed." Next. Now, Enki realized at this place that Enlil was going to try to keep us dumbed down. So Enki created the Snake Brotherhood. He taught secretly selected hybrids the facts, the technology, and advanced thinking that he knew they would need. He was wanting us to do way better when the time was right. Not have the thermonuclear wars and the rivalry and the murders that characterized people back on Nibiru. Next. Well, Enlil listened to his son, Ninhursag, who said, "Hey, we want slaves too. We don't want to work ourselves." And said, "Okay, let's plan a raid." And so Ninhursag came down with a bunch of his guys. They blew a hole in the compound and stole a whole bunch of the breeding stock of our ancestors. Here's Ninhursag with his missile again. Go. And there's Enki's place, and he blew a hole in this wall. Between 300,000 and 200,000 BC, Adam's descendants dug the gold of South Africa. From there, they took it in boats to Iraq, up the Persian Gulf. In Iraq, they refined the gold. The Igigi, that's the name of the astronauts on Mars, rocketed the gold to Nibiru. And the gold dust was working. It was lessening the hole in Nibiru's ozone. The hybrids dug the gold, as I said, smelted it in Sumer, Iraq, and rocketed it to Mars base. And from there, it went on to Nibiru. And for this, the slaves got food and housing, and they were just told to dig gold and keep making babies. Next. And they also made those more and more of those transport lanes that I mentioned earlier. Next. Better picture of them. Go. In about 200,000 BCE, Nibiru, coming close, the nearing, ruined Mars base. It was great big stones hit the buildings, and it ruined the crops on Earth. Next. And there's the destruction of Mars base. And this meant that Marduk lost his job. And so Marduk was really upset. Enki took him to the moon. They said, "Let's check out the moon, see if we could make a base there." And while they were on the moon, Enki taught Marduk secrets. There's Enki and his Prometheus, the giver of energy and knowledge. And there's a depiction of Marduk. He told Marduk almost everything except how to revive the dead, which was a secret he gave to Ningishita. Well, most of the hybrids, when this time of crops getting ruined, they just wandered off away from the mines, and they started foraging in Africa, and some of them had migrated to Southeast Asia. They looked like they weren't doing the job and they weren't good slaves, but they were taking good care of themselves. And so Enlil started leaning on Enki. "Why don't you make better slaves who obey us and won't wander off into the bush?" And so Enki thought, "I know a good way to do that." And he found two of the descendants of Adam, two pretty girls among them. And he begat two children, one with each of these girls, a boy named Adapa and a girl named Titi. They had lots of his genes. And Enki's wife, Damkina, took a liking to Titi and taught her all kinds of crafts. And Enki personally raised Adapa and taught him lots. Next. There's Damkina teaching Titi. Next. And Enki gave lots and lots of attention to Adapa, taught him how to run farms, herds, estates, how to organize his own descendants, and how to organize the hybrids that he made earlier, the Adamites. Next. Enki taught Adapa how to keep records, run farms, herds, estates, and there's another depiction of it. Now, the children that Adapa and Titi made together, they made lots and lots of them. It began with the twins named Cain and Abel in our Bible. And could you go back? I wasn't through with that. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Cain and Abel are the very, very special twins, and they've got more Anunnaki genes than anybody before them, and they're very, very special. Okay, let's move on. Enki sent his son Adapa with his youngest son Dumuzi and his son with Erishkigal, Ningishita, to Nibiru. Anu wanted to see this genius. Enlil had reported that Enki had made this genius son who could do all these things. And Enki gave Ningishita a tablet, and the tablet told King Anu, don't make them have our longevity, because the Anunnaki, these Nibiruans, lived hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of years. And Enki slipped them a tablet and said, he's really my son, but don't tell everybody. And Ningishita said, I already knew that. I took his blood sample. Okay, next. And there's their journey. Next. And so there's another depiction. They're going on. So go ahead. And so they sent Dumuzi back to Earth, and he's going to teach the hybrids animal husbandry, and that was the job that they had for Dumuzi. But when he got there, Dumuzi's older brother Marduk said, "Look, I'm going to take one of these twins from Adapa, Abel, and I'm going to make him head of all the livestock. Even though you, Dumuzi, have been trained in it, I know all about it too." So Marduk, Prince Marduk, the person who had been turned away from being king, who thought he should be king of Nibiru, especially took interest in Abel. Next. Whereas Ninurta, who's now the champion of Enlil and the Enlilites, that faction, co-opted Cain and said, Cain, you are going to be in charge of farming. That's where it's really at, and we'll monopolize that. Go. Well, Enki, of course, praised Abel's offering because he was trying to laud animals and herds and stuff, and he just sort of didn't have much to say about Cain's offering of grain and farming, because that belonged to the rival clan. Next. Well, Abel brought his animals on top of the irrigation furrows that Cain had made, and the twins fought about it, and as you know, Cain killed Abel with a rock. The Anunnaki Council they were going to kill Cain, but Enki talked them out of it, and Anu realized that was part of his genes going into the new humans, and he did not want them all killed. So what they did is the council ordered Ningishita to make Cain and his descendants without facial hair, and he banished them to the east of Iraq.